Curran.
Curran. Cynthia Curran.
I haven't done that.
Hello.
Hey, Cynthia!
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Cool. So, y'all are talking about genitals a lot in this trip. And hey, I'm a trans woman. There's all kinds of stories about down here. And in case anyone got excited hearing that, it's gone. So, you cannot get excited over that. So, back before I transitioned, I actually did have one genital surgery, believe it or not. It was a vasectomy. And I was, my parents were, my whole family was just like, no, don't get one. You're going to want kids someday. I'm like, heck no. So I went to the doc and I'm just like, I'd heard all kinds of horror stories, especially with women specifically, where if someone wants to get sterilized voluntarily, their doctor usually gives them a hard time or just straight up refuses, saying like, no, like you're going to want kids someday, basically my fucking family. So we're not going to do the procedure. So I walk into the doctor's office and I'm just like, oh, I hope I can get this. And the doctor just kind of looks at me and is like, all right, kid, you're 20. You're signing up for the procedure. You're an adult. Fuck it. Do you want the surgery? I'm just like, yeah, that's why I'm here. He's just like, all right, cool. See you on this date. I'm like, fuck, all right. So by this point, I was still pretty sheltered, kind of prudish. I went into the surgery center. I didn't quite understand what I was signing up for until I started getting into it, because I went into that place. I, stripped completely, which I hadn't done before because I never really had major surgery up until that point. So I completely stripped, put on the gown, walk into the operating room. I look over at the table that they have prepared. 3 leather straps from like top to bottom, and I'm just sort of like, this is kinky. Shit. Genital surgery with a bunch of straps. That's unusual. And so they're just like, all right, take off the gown. And I was like, oh, buy me a drink first. Start undoing it. I get on the table, and the doctor's like, all right, so we're not going to knock you out for this one. The surgery is 45 minutes. I see him. So what they do is they put a curtain over your chest so that you don't see what's happening down there. And all of a sudden,
awake?
I just see sorry, what?
You were awake?
The entire time.
Oh!
That's fucked up.
I watched the clock tick every damn second. And as they put this curtain in front of me, I just see the doctor, and I was like, all right, hand over. They use local anesthetic. So they're just like, all right, hand over. See them pick up this needle, and I'm like, oh God, I know where it's going. So yeah, they're just like, all right, the first sting's the worst. We're just gonna put it in there. You're not gonna feel a thing afterwards. That's a fucking lie. All right.
Oh,
if they don't use enough, you feel some tugs. Yeah. You feel some tugs, and you're just like, and you're just like, oh, we'll apply some more. So it's more reactive, more responsive that way. Truly an immersive experience. You feel like you're doing it with the doctor. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, 30 minutes pass, and it's just like, all right, or the way they do it is they cut there's a testes on both sides, and they connect up into the urethra and then go out. That's what they do. Yeah, sorry. This is a very gory story. So they just cut 2 of those tubes out, and then they cauterize it. So I'm just sitting there, just staring up at the ceiling, like dealing with this body torture. And then all of a sudden I see these little tubes being brought up, and just, yep, okay, I'm gonna put them over here. And I'm just like, I can't keep them at least. Yeah. And then I eventually, like, they stitched me back up. They sent me out, and my dad was picking me up. He's like, so how'd it go? And I'm just like, I've never felt so like humiliated and like just, what's the word I'm looking for? Violated. I've never felt so violated in my entire life. And then a couple years pass. I discover I am trans, and I'm like, hey, part of the reason why I wasn't too bothered by surgery down there the first time is because I don't fucking like it. So I started like getting ready for surgery, and the thing that they have to do first is complete hair removal, which is very painful. So I have to go into this lady once a week to start doing hair removal down there. And it's like at this lady's home, I had to message like 5 different clinics to find a person willing to do the removal down there. Because most of the people in the southern Maine area that do that sort of removal are very old. And they're just like, I don't want to deal with your junk. So I had to message all around. I messaged all around.
Literally.
Finally, I found someone like an hour away that's just like, sure, I can do that for you. It's like skin to skin, whatever. I'm like, all right, cool. So I started driving to this lady like once every week or two. And of course, it's the same awkward shit as like a vasectomy where it's like, oh, I'm in your house. There's this random table you want me to lay on and you want me to strip. Okay. Like, no drink, really? Okay. So, at first it's awkward. It's like, I'm sorry, I don't want to show you. But then by like the 20th appointment, you're just like, hi, me. I'm ready. Have at me. Because like at first you're laying there and it's just like, do I make small talk? Do I like look her in the eye even? Like, because there's no curtain in this fucking And so, at first few times it's awkward, but then by the 20th you're just like, so how are the grandkids? And eventually you figure out that these appointments, which are expensive by the way, is funding her grandkids' college. And like, she's like zap, 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 whatever, and we're talking about like, she's this old white lady, grandmother. I'm getting like the family trauma and drama, alright? We're in what should be the most awkward situation possible, and she's telling me about like her divorce and this new guy she's seeing.
Yeah.
Suing?
No, seeing, sorry. I misspoke. Yeah, and then finally the big day came. And as some of you probably heard, my parents are pretty bigoted. But for like a good 10 weeks, they kind of weren't, because they were the only ones that could help me out. And they're the ones that like dropped me down, made sure I was all right after. Because it's a big reconstructive surgery. All right, it's really taxing on the body and the fucking wallet.
Yeah.
So they drove me down. They was in Boston. They drove me down there. We stayed overnight. Finally, we walk into the OR like 6 a.m. or something. And they told me, yeah, it could be 6 to 8 hours. I was an 8-hour person, and turns out you are stuck in what is basically the birthing position for the entire 8 hours. They just strap you down, and your back hurts more than anything when you wake up. Yes.
Were you awake?
No. They actually, yes, thank God. They actually put me up for this one.
Did you raise your hand?
Yeah, no, they put me out for that one. Thank God. Yeah, but that happened, and when I woke up, they didn't bother to call my parents or anything. They kind of just snuck into the fucking hospital where everyone was like the outpatient and the inpatient like recovery rooms. So they snuck back in, and my dad looked at me. He said, "Hey, champ, like, how do you feel?" And I just looked at him. I said, "I feel like I just lost 10 pounds with this one simple trick."
Yeah, who'd you forget to call?
Wait, sorry, who? What?
Who'd you forget to call?
Oh yeah, and I forgot to call my wife. She's sitting in the back. Yeah, but I called you eventually, sweetie. But despite all the stuff I've been through with my body, I'm proud of some things physically, but one of the things that I am most proud of is my voice. So fun fact, whenever you go through hormones, if you go from female to male, the hormones naturally cause your voice to deepen. And so you actually don't have to do voice training that way. But I was going from male to female. Estrogen does not cause your vocal cords to change. So I had to train for this shit. I would go home like after work or whatever, and how many people here have like a constant internal monologue that just never shuts up? Yeah. So I just vocalized that and used that to train. I just was talking to myself like a crazy person for months at a time. But the thing is that I now technically sort of have two voices because I can switch back immediately.
Yep.
I was told I had the voice of a devil growing up. That, just for context of how deep it was. And it is so hard not being evil with it too. Because like, I've never actually done it, but I've been tempted to like go through a drive-thru, order in this voice, and then get up to the window and they're just like, hey, did you order this? And I'm like, yup. My meal, please. Hand it over. And there's another trick I can do where I can actually change it as I'm speaking. So whenever I joke about like, you know how like, think like the Madagascar movie where like they get tranquilized and they start like going on a little trip. They just start seeing shit. Every time I talk about drugs with somebody and someone takes one, I just kind of look at them and I go, "You're going on a little trip."
Hey, are you okay? What's the matter?
And then they come back and just, hey, how's it going? And I've done something similar, but I've been tempted to, obviously the church thinks all trans people are demon possessed, so I've been tempted to just look at one and be like, no, I'm not demon possessed. Yes, I am. And there have been a few times where growing up, my mother and I got into a habit of watching horror movies together. And she has watched so many of them that all she has left are the bad ones. There's a lot of like really bad, like, I don't want to say student film bad, but just kind of like, hey, all we have is an old house and like a $10,000 budget. Kind of bad. And there was one movie we were watching together where it was bad. Like, it kind of was leading into this idea that like maybe the mom was just having a psychotic episode where she believed her kid was demon possessed, but he really wasn't. And the father was like trying to get community help for her, but it was trying to show it more from the mom's perspective. And so it tries to make you think, oh, the kid might actually be demon possessed. But it was just dog shit. There was no like climax to it. And you know, in any good horror movie, you kind of like build up the scare for a good long while. And eventually you want it to get to a point where it's like, fuck you, yeah, like that kind of scare. That never came with the movie even, but I could tell where they were trying to put it. So we're watching this movie. The mother's looking at her kid like, hey, you could tell she was doing this like weird pseudo-religious shit trying to get the demon out. And she's like, are you still in there? And the kid just sort of like, no. And the movie just kind of kept going. So eventually it kind of comes back to that point a little bit. And it still dropped the ball. But in that moment, I looked over at my mother and I just went, I'm still here. Like, scared the shit out of me. I made more of a jump scare. Better than my fucking mother could. And the last story related to my voice. So at one point, Tegan and I were moving to Minneapolis. And I was living in Southern Maine at that time. So we rented a U-Haul, because haha, lesbians. We start driving all the way from Southern Maine to Minneapolis. And as we were driving there, in the middle of the night, I don't know what possessed me, I was just like, oh yeah, I never canceled my internet. So I'm like, well, I don't want the bastards to charge me again, so I'll just call and cancel it as we're driving, because she was driving at the moment and I didn't have much else better to do. Now apparently, when I submitted my name change to the internet service provider, the name change didn't make it all the way through their system, especially customer support, because I was trying to cancel it through like their website at first, but it literally provided nothing to do so. Probably because they're a monopoly, they're horrible, and they don't want you to cancel your internet. So eventually I'm like, all right, screw it, I'll call the customer support line. I start calling them, and at first to get my name right and everything. So I'm going through this process trying to get my name changed, or not my name changed, my internet canceled. And eventually they're just like, okay, so we're having some problem, like I have to send you off to like management level 2 or whatever, like some other hotline completely to get my internet canceled. So I'm like, all right, fuck it, do it. And he passed me off. I this other dude picks up the phone, and I'm just sort of like, hi, like they pass along the information somehow, and I'm like, hi, I want to cancel my internet. And they're just sort of like, okay, cool. So they were start talking back and forth, and just like, oh, we actually have a different name on file. It's actually under what was my dead name at the time. And they assumed he was my husband. So they're just like, hey, can you put him on the phone actually? I put the phone down for a second. I look over at Tegan as she's driving, and I'm just sort of like, watch this. I pick it back up and was like, hello? Yeah, she wanted to cancel the internet today. That makes sense. And just had the whole conversation like that the entire ride back. Tegan had never heard me use the voice for that long before. To her, it's a form of dark magic that whenever I unleash it, scares the shit out of her.
I about drove off the interstate.
Yeah, but that's it. That's all I had.
Yes, put your hands together for our headliner tonight. Oh my God, our out of town headliner. That was incredible.